In this lesson, we'll further polish the cartoon take. Getting right into it, we'll make our major changes. And for one, that's going to be as the character is up in the air on frame 105. Let's go ahead and rotate him so that he's a little bit more facing towards the viewer to correct his pose here. What we'll also want to do is go to his chest control and let's bring that up, as we don't want that much squashing to happen, at least just yet. Okay, now another major change we're going to make is the timing at which the character turns around to look at the fallen object. So let's go to the Watchman node, and basically what we're doing is just adding some really subtle motion here. So to start out, we can take the movement that's happening at about frame 110 and let's middle click and add that to, let's say, about 120, and then press S to lock in the pose here. So we just get a little bit of motion, and then as the character starts to come out of the pose, let's not have him move so much to frame 130. Let's actually take a little bit of this, maybe to about where the eyes are that much open on 126, then middle click on frame 130 and press S to lock in another pose. So what we get as we hit play, so a little bit something a little bit more natural. Okay. Alright, now once this has been done, we can go ahead and turn off our character set and work on adding a little bit more of some finer details. So for one, let's go to this right wrist on 97. Let's bring that up a little bit more because that's probably a bit too low. That's better. And then of course we need to fix the arc on the left arm. So we can add a motion trail. Let's determine the range that we like to see it from. Perhaps 93 to about at least 99. So knowing that, with the object selected, we'll go to Animate, down to Create Motion Trail, and we'll create it from 93 to 99, and go ahead and create the trail. Of course, we now need to go ahead and show our locator so we can see the path. So as he's moving down, you can see the linear path, and if you like, you can go ahead and go to the right arm and just remove that motion trail if it's getting a little bit of to be a little bit distracting. So again, that's going to the going to our outliner, and remember that was the first one. You could also get into the habit of naming these if you like, but since we only have two here, we kind of get the idea of what we needed to get rid of. Alright, so as that arm is coming down, we want to bring up the arm in the Y to correct the arc here. So with that selected, we'll go to our perspective and outliner, or perspective and graph editor view, and let's see, as the arm is moving in, maybe on about 97 we can have it raise up, maybe even a little bit more, so we can make sure the arc is going to be just as we need it to be. Alright, great, that's looking better. So character reaches in. Okay, excellent. Alright, well, continuing from here, let's say we go ahead and have the foot, this left foot, plant sooner. Rather than 107, we're going to want it to plant a little bit earlier. What we had before is it actually anticipating the plant, it was bending. So not only that, but we want to make sure that things aren't happening at the same time. The feet are going to plant first in this case, and then the body's going to come down. Great. And also we'll correct the rotation of the right foot. Let's go ahead and rotate that up and out. Excellent. Okay, so now let's go ahead and look at the character. He's looking pretty good. What we're actually going to do is add a little bit of a jiggle to the character's upper body. Okay, so we can work on doing that. We can start by selecting his chest control, and we'll work with the translate Y here. Let's go to the translate Y attribute, and let's see, can start with where he's landing. And what we'll actually do is take this key where he does land, and let's move it down a few more frames to about, let's say, frame 110. Okay, so he comes up, and on frame 106 we'll actually have it start to move up, okay, for the follow through as the character is moving down. And then we can take this key on 110 and maybe move it down a little bit more, not too much at all. And let's see, just scrub through. Alright, great. What would probably be a good idea so we can see a faster update is to go ahead and just hide our locator again and go back to our translate Y. Alright, so the character moves down, and now we could have him move up for follow through, and that could happen at this key on frame 120. Let's actually take that and move it up a little bit more. Okay, we'll get a better view in here, and let's have this move up, and we can see how that looks. Maybe a little bit more too. And we could hit play just to get a feel of how it's going along. Alright, excellent. Now the key on frame 130 here, we're not going to want it to move down so much. Okay, it's going to be even a little bit more slight. Okay, it's gradually starting to decrease in intensity. So we hit play. Okay, so we're going to get a better feeling of impact, or greater feeling of impact on frame 110. And then it starts to gradually decrease as we continue. Great, let's say we now go ahead and add a little bit of motion to the hip so we can really create this jiggle effect. And to do that, we'll start by going to 110, frame 110, and we'll actually bring down the hip control a little bit here. And then as the upper body would move up, we'd actually, a few frames after, on 116, move this object up. And then we could even delete this key on frame 120. So here's what we get. Great, and now we want to have it move, let's see, I think it would actually look better if we took this key on 116 and had it move down a little bit more underneath frame 110. And the reason why is because as the chest has its impact, it's almost like it's pushing the hip down to create our jiggle effect. So you can see what's happening. The chest comes down, and then we have our hip move down for follow through to that, so that the hip almost gets impacted. And then as we continue at about 124, we could have the hip move up, and then have it move down slightly on, let's say we even take this key a few more frames down to like 132 and have this move down a little bit more. So watch what we get now if we hit play. Get a nice little jiggle effect. Okay, we don't want too much of it, so let's go ahead and really look at this to see if this is what we like. And it almost looks like the chest can move a little bit more on about frame 110. Let's go ahead and select it. We'll go to the graph editor again, and let's even see if we could take this key down to more on 110. Okay, let's see how this looks. If we hit play. Great. Alright, wonderful. Okay, so this is all coming together very well. Can look to see if there's anything else we really want to add here. Can add a little bit of offset to the arms so that they don't just stop abruptly. So we can have them move a little bit higher here on 13, and thus the wrist will want to be lowered as a result. All right, and then we can also add a slight adjustment to the left arm, where we maybe bring that down on 111 and bring the wrist up, just add a little bit of offset. Let's hit play to see how that looks. All right, great. And I think we could even go a little bit further and take this hand and bring it out in the X and the Z a little bit more. And since it seems to now be moving a little bit too much when we get to 120, we could just really decrease it by taking what its value would be on, let's say, 114, middle click on 120 and press Shift W and Shift D. All right, great. Excellent. So that's pretty much the main part of our take. We can look at the arms to see how they're all coming together. And what would even be nice is to work on Play Blast. So we'll go to our shot camera, focus on the area that we need to, and start a Play Blast. Here's what we end up with. All right, great. So this is looking quite well. Looks like there's a few poses that we can correct, and also we want to be mindful of the feet. Okay, not only adding a little bit more motion to that right leg so it's not planted in the air, but also we want to make sure that we do add in the proper footsteps that's going to need. But altogether, this is actually looking quite well. So we'll stop the lesson here, and in the next lesson, again, we'll continue polishing this section.